In Chile, the head of the electoral service, Andrés Tagle, stated that everything is ready for this Sunday's referendum. Voting tables will be set up this Saturday. Argentinian President Alberto Fernández led a multi-sectoral meeting to sign a democratic pact against violence and hatred following the attack against Vice President Cristina Fernández. And the Russian government denounced that the United States is trying to relocate its military biological programs from Ukraine to other nations in Eastern Europe. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Chile, Andrés Tagle, president of the board of directors of Chile's electoral service, informed that all the problems to be addressed have been solved in view of this Sunday's referendum. A few hours before starting the process, the official declared that progress has been made in the logistics of what has been qualified as one of the most important referendums in the history of the country. He explained that they estimate that by 8 p.m. on Sunday, there will be enough records entered into the system to offer projections. If the gap between both options is not too tight, and added that the mechanisms to guarantee the transparency of the process are available to all citizens. Regarding abstentionists, he expressed that the causes for not participating have been sufficiently detailed by the electoral body. In Chile, Andrés Tagle, the head of the electoral service, also confirmed that everything is ready for this Sunday's referendum. This Saturday, the voting tables will be set up during the day. According to the official, polling centers are being protected by the armed forces, and the delegates of the electoral board are making the corresponding preparation for September 4th elections. Tagle also urged the polling station officials, representatives, and the electorate to comply with the rules, asking them to attend without propaganda and to avoid any provocative or offensive slogans. This Sunday, over 15 million Chileans are eligible to vote to approve the new constitutional text proposed by the Constitutional Convention. Argentina's President Alberto Fernández held a meeting at the Casa Rosada with several sectors of the nation to establish a democratic pact against violence and hatred. In the context of the failed attempt on the life of Vice President Cristina Fernández, the head of state summoned governors, representatives of human rights organizations, unions, and businessmen to build, in his words, a consensus against hate speeches and violence. The president highlighted the points between the parties and celebrated that the country's squares will be filled to repudiate violence and any attempt against democracy. Regarding the attack on the nation's vice president, judicial sources revealed that the assailant refused to testify, while preliminary investigations suggest that he may not have acted alone. The perpetrator of the attack, Fernando Sabac Montiel, was carrying an unregistered cell phone with few registered calls and had a new city travel ticket. Authorities are reviewing the staging of the scene at the doorway of the vice president's house, while the prosecutor, Carlos Ribolo, explained that all hypotheses remain open. For its part, the defense assures that it intends to give testimony when it deems it appropriate. Political parties and social organizations in Argentina mobilized in defense of democracy and in solidarity with Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner after the assassination attempt against her. Different social and political organizations called their supporters to gather in Plaza de Mayo and other places in the country after the authorities decreed on Friday as a holiday for the population to express their repudiation to violence and hatred. From the moment of the attack against Cristina Fernández, demonstrations have been held with the slogan "With the flag to defend democracy," in solidarity with the vice president. Political, religious, and social leaders and presidents from different countries expressed their rejection of the assassination attempt and requested that the fact be clarified. A joint document in defense of democracy was read in Argentina during the mobilization in Plaza de Mayo in rejection of the assassination attempt against Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner.
Social peace is a collective responsibility into the face of the attempted assassination of the country's main political leader.
Nadie que defienda la República
No one who defends the Republic can remain silent or put their differences before the unanimous condemnation that these actions brings. There is no way to rationalize or minimize an assassination attempt. The solidarity and condemnation of leaders from all over America, the United States, Europe, and Pope Francisco show that the world fully understands the gravity of what has happened.
The joint document in defense of democracy also called on the national political leadership, asking everyone to maintain democratic coexistence over any political disagreement.
In the same sense, the organized labor movements, business entities, religious communities, sports associations, and other intermediate organizations of the country, as well as a large part of the national political leadership, expressed their gratitude for understanding that democratic coexistence must prevail over any political disagreement.
And Cubans demonstrated on Friday to condemn the assassination attempt on the Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. Argentinian ambassador in Havana, Cuba, Luis Ilarregui, thanked the historic leader of the revolution and Army General Raúl Castro Ruz and the nation's President Miguel Díaz-Canel for their expressions of support for Vice President Cristina Fernández. The diplomat also expressed the unwavering solidarity of the peoples of the world with the former president and stressed the need to respect democracy in the South American nation.
All those speeches, all that language in the social media, all that chorus of insults, all that chorus of slander, defamation, and terrible hysteria is the natural version of fascism. In these times of post-truth, in these times of fake news, and all that kind of things, because they insult and defame in an absolutely irresponsible way. And as it has been said many times, they manipulate the emotions of the people. I think that what happened is really very painful, terrible, distressing, but it reflects the rise of the fascism in this world, in our America and the world.
Also in Bolivia, citizens gathered outside the Embassy of Argentina in La Paz to show their solidarity with Argentine Vice President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner after a man tried to shoot her at point-blank range in Buenos Aires City. Let us take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Peru's Vice President Dina Boluarte called for respect for Pedro Castillo's presidential mandate after Congress announced new impeachment request. Vice President Boluarte urged to respect the will of the citizens, who show by means of the vote a parliament and a new presidential formula to govern for 5 years. This will be the third impeachment request that the President Castillo would face since he began his administration in July last year. In this sense, he denounced that the Congressional Opposition Party intends to base its impeachment request on the evidence that has caused the Public Prosecutor's Office to open 5 investigations for alleged corruption against the president. 8 Colombian police officers were killed Friday in an ambush in the department of Huila. The attack took place at about 2:30 p.m. local time in the Corrozal village, where an explosive device was set off as the police van was passing by after leaving a social event. According to authorities, the officers were also attacked with rifle fire after the blast. President Gustavo Petro condemned the attack on a tweet, calling it a clear act of sabotage against peace. According to an official statement, the president is on his way to Neiva to deal with the situation. The Special Investigation Commission of the Prosecutor's Office will also arrive in the city. No group has claimed the authorship of the attack yet. This is the worst attack on security forces since Gustavo Petro was sworn in as Colombia's president less than a month ago. This week, Colombia's Special Jurisdiction for Peace made a transcendental and unprecedented decision. It opened the case number 08, which will investigate the crimes committed by the armed forces and state agents in association with paramilitary groups and civilians. Although these cases reached ordinary justice, they were never investigated. Our correspondent Viviana Bello with the details.
Court of Peace will investigate 72,000 crimes against humanity and war crimes against Colombians that were committed by the army force and state agents in alliance with paramilitary and civilians.
The main crimes attributed directly to the armed forces are homicide with 8,345 cases, forces displacement 2,904, threats 1,638, torture 1,249, and forces disappearance 1,136.
Besides searching for those responsible for the forced disappearance and displacement of families, the Justice of Peace will investigate cases of sexual violence and massacres in which farmers were attacked for allegedly being members of the guerrillas or the collaborators.
For example, women who were victims of sexual violence are seeking information because they were accused of being companions of relatives or guerrilla fighters. Another great motivation of state agents has to do with favoring private economic interest through dispossession and displacement. In these territories, the murders happen to favor economic interest that thought to evict people from the land to buy it cheaply.
The Special Jurisdiction for Peace will reconvene the paramilitary leaders who had already given their testimonies before to the Attorney General's office, where the investigations against state agents were never updated.
We have to call again many former leaders of paramilitary groups and witnesses belonging to the paramilitary groups. However, the case's emphasis is on the competition we have against state agents and army force members.
51% of the crimes were committed between 2000 and 2009, a period in which Álvaro Uribe Vélez was the Colombian president and supreme commander of the armed forces. From Bogotá, Viviana Bello, TeleSUR, Colombia.
And TeleSUR will dedicate its coverage of the Football World Cup Qatar 2022 to the figure of Diego Armando Maradona, who accompanied our crew in the last two World Cups. With the football star will also tour our continent with the show De Zurda Viajero. We want this tribute to have its own music. With that in mind, we invite you to compose a song for TeleSUR's coverage of Qatar 2022 Football World Cup. It must be an original song, never recorded before or published in any media, and free of legal attachments. Record the song in any format, even with your cell phone, and send it as an attachment to comunicaciones@telesurtv.net with the following information: author's name, nationality, and name of the song. The closing date for the call for entries is September 10, 2022. A jury of prestigious musicians and composers from the region will select the winning piece. The prize will be the recording of the song, a video clip, and the wide diffusion of the work. 1 week after closing of the call, TeleSUR will announce the results. Let us go over two of the four musicians who will choose the winning song. We begin with singer and songwriter Raúl Torres, born in Bayamo, Eastern Cuba. Torres has a talent that was discovered by the famous Pablo Milanés, who guided him in the beginning of his artistic career. He has recorded several pieces with founders of the Nueva Trova movement and performed with other great musicians such as the Brazilian Simón, the Argentinian Fito Páez, and the Spanish Ana Joaquín Sabina. Among his most relevant songs are A Cuba, Candil de Nieve, Se Fue, Regrésamelo Todo, El Regreso del Amigo, dedicated to President Hugo Chávez, and Cabalgando con Fidel, a tribute to Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro after his passing. It is now the turn of Teresa Parodi, singer, author and composer of Argentinian folklore. Parodi was also the first Minister of Culture during the administration of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. She began her singing and guitar studies at the age of 9 with Maestro Blas Benjamin de la Vega. Later she joined the quintet of Maestro Astor Piazzolla as a guest singer touring around the provinces of Argentina. In the 80s, she began her career as a solo singer with emblematic songs such as Distinto, Oración de Lluvia, Apúrate José, among others. Parodi is one of the most representative voices of Argentinian folklore in her country and the region in the last decades, having won a Carmín de Oro award for her career at the National Folklore Festival of Cosquín. And more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The Russian government accused the United States of trying to move its military biological program from Ukraine to other nations in Eastern Europe. The announcement was made by the head of the Radioactive, Chemical and Biological Defense Forces of the Russian Army, General Igor Kirillov, who also warned that the expansion of biolaboratories poses a threat to Moscow's security. Kirillov pointed out that unlike nuclear weapons, the biological weapons program promoted by Washington make it possible to go beyond the borders of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and approach Russia's borders. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that the United States acts nervously to hide the information on the biological weapons researches advanced by Washington in other countries. In the city of Donetsk, 21 miners were trapped after an underground blackout as a result of Ukrainian hostilities. The Ministry of Coal and Energy of the self-proclaimed republic reported that there were no fatalities and that they are working to evacuate the miners. In addition, 2 more mines in Donetsk were left without power due to the shelling. This development comes after 13 employees of the Ministry of Emergency Situations of Donetsk were killed on Thursday as a result of the shelling of their Rupsty village by the Ukrainian army. For its part, Russia stated that it will continue the special operation to protect the Donbass from Kiev's aggression. The Russian energy giant Gazprom has indefinitely suspended gas traffic through the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. The Russian company informed that the route to Europe will remain inactive until corrective measures are taken. Gazprom said that an oil leak mixed with a sealing compound was discovered in the cable connections of the low and medium pressure rotor speed sensors on the Trent 60 turbine located at the Portovaya compressor station. The Eurasian company recalled that this type of oil leak had been detected on other Nord Stream turbines that underwent a general repair and have not been installed yet. Local media report that the oil leak detection protocol was also signed by representatives of the Siemens company. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan warns Greece it will pay a heavy price if it continues to harass Turkish planes over the Aegean. Erdogan spoke in a rally in the Black Sea region.
Hey Greece, take a look at history. If you go further, you will pay a heavy price.
The president of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, called for early presidential and legislative elections in order to implement the package of amendments to the country's constitution. The head of state explained that a new mandate of people's trust is required to implement reforms aimed at building a new just Kazakhstan. Presidential elections will be held in autumn of this year, while legislative elections, both national and local, will be held in the first half of 2023. Tokayev added that he intends to run for president again and proposed limiting the presidential term to 7 years without the right of re-election. Kenya's Supreme Court continued hearing arguments in challenges to the presidential election on Friday. Losing opposition candidate Raila Odinga is among those challenging the results and alleging a range of problems with the election process. Deputy President William Ruto was declared the winner earlier this month with just over 50% of votes. The court must rule on all challenges by the end of Monday. Odinga asserts that the process was marked by criminal subversion and is seeking that the outcome be nullified and a new vote be ordered. The peaceful election turned out chaotic in the final minutes before the declaration, when the Electoral Commission split and a majority of commissioners said they couldn't support the result. The dissenting commissioners and the chairman trade accusations of misconduct, extending the uncertainty in East Africa's most stable democracy. Japanese authorities recommended the evacuation of more than 170,000 families in the south of the country due to heavy rains. Officials in Hamamatsu City, Shizuoka Prefecture, urged nearly 400,000 people to evacuate due to heavy rains that caused the Magome River to overflow its banks. The local government issued a level 5 alert, the highest on Japan's disaster warning scale, and opened 22 shelters in areas at risk of flooding. They also advised citizens to remain on high alert and to take shelter on the highest floors of their homes. They also recommended avoiding places close to areas that are prone to landslides. TeleSUR English continues to grow its signal now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st, and quite soon further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us, and our stories are heard in other faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and all faithfulness to our audience. And we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. And now you can also follow us on TikTok at the account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.